Imagine waking up to a life that feels like an endless sprint. Each day is a marathon of tasks, responsibilities, and expectations that barely leave room for a pause or breath. You find yourself in this rhythm of nonstop activity, where every email, meeting, and deadline blurs into the next, leaving a mounting sense of exhaustion. Sophie, a character many of us can relate to, lives in this exact reality. She's a driven professional, balancing a demanding career, family commitments, and her own aspirations. But as the demands grow, so does the toll on her well-being, making her feel like she's running on empty. Every time Sophie attempts to catch up, there's something else added to her plate, and the quiet moments she craves are constantly postponed. Eventually, she realizes she's lost her sense of balance. Even the simplest moments of peace, like enjoying a morning coffee, start to feel like luxuries instead of everyday pleasures. Her energy drains, and a persistent layer of stress begins to affect her, both mentally and physically. Sophie is stuck in survival mode, fighting the idea that success means constantly sacrificing her own well-being. Despite her efforts, the idea of genuine relaxation seems out of reach. It's in this state of overwhelm that Sophie stumbles upon The 5 Resets by Aditi Nerurkar. She's intrigued, but skeptical. The idea of resets feels unfamiliar in a world that glorifies nonstop hustle. But as she dives into the concepts, she finds that these resets are not about escaping her responsibilities, but about reshaping how she meets them. These aren't drastic changes or rigid routines. Instead, they're small, powerful shifts that could help her find resilience in a way she didn't think was possible. Sophie's journey becomes a slow awakening, learning that these resets are less about doing more and more, about doing things differently. She begins to see that reclaiming her time and energy is not only achievable, but necessary. Each reset is a stepping stone, offering her the chance to step back, pause, and rewire how she approaches stress. She learns that true resilience is built, not through endurance alone, but by finding sustainable, gentle ways to face life's challenges. These practices don't take away her responsibilities, but they allow her to meet them with a newfound sense of calm and strength. Through the 5 resets, Sophie's story shows us a pathway that many of us are seeking, a route out of the overwhelm and back to a balanced, resilient life. In Chapter 1 of the 5 Resets, Sophie begins to explore a new way of addressing stress, one that goes beyond simply managing tasks. She wakes up each morning already feeling the weight of the day's demands, her mind racing with a never-ending to-do list. This sense of urgency isn't just mental. It manifests physically, too. Her shoulders are tense, her back feels tight, and her breathing is shallow. Sophie realizes she's carrying stress not only in her mind, but throughout her entire body. This chapter introduces her to the mind-body connection reset, a fundamental shift in perspective that redefines her approach to stress and resilience. The concept here is simple but profound. Stress is a full-body experience, not just a mental one. Stress hormones, triggered by the brain, don't simply stay in the mind. They circulate through the body, impacting muscles, breathing, and even digestion. When Sophie starts practicing the mind-body connection reset, she learns to see stress as a holistic experience. By focusing on both her mind and body, she begins to manage her stress in a more complete way, not just reacting to mental pressures, but actively tending to her physical well-being, too. To begin this journey, Sophie adopts 2 simple yet transformative techniques: deep breathing and mindfulness. Each morning, she takes 5 minutes to practice mindful breathing, a ritual that allows her to start the day with a sense of groundedness. She sits still, inhales deeply, and focuses on each breath, feeling her chest rise and fall. This conscious act of breathing might seem small, but it creates a meaningful impact, helping her feel anchored and calm. By prioritizing these few minutes, she sets a tone of calm that stays with her throughout the day. Sophie's mindful breathing practice doesn't stop at her morning routine. Throughout the day, she uses this technique whenever she feels her stress levels creeping up. For example, During tense meetings, she notices her body's response. Her pulse quickens, her muscles tighten. Rather than ignoring these signs, she acknowledges them and takes a moment to breathe deeply. This quick reset gives her a sense of control over her stress response, allowing her to approach challenges with a clearer mind. As Sophie integrates the mind-body connection reset into her life, she also begins to cultivate greater self-awareness. She becomes attuned to the physical signs of stress, such as shallow breathing or a racing heart, and she recognizes these as signals to pause and reset. This awareness helps her disrupt the cycle of stress before it escalates. Instead of letting stress accumulate, she builds in small moments of calm that prevent burnout. Each pause she takes, whether it's a deep breath or a moment of stillness, contributes to a growing resilience, a foundation that supports her throughout her day. The practice of mindfulness also introduces Sophie to a concept called present moment awareness, where she focuses on the here and now instead of being overwhelmed by past regrets or future worries. This approach has a powerful impact on her stress levels. When her mind drifts to anxious thoughts about upcoming deadlines or unresolved issues, she gently brings herself back to the present, grounding herself through her breath. She finds that by staying rooted in the present, she can handle each task as it comes, rather than feeling crushed by the weight of everything at once. The benefits of the mind-body connection reset extend beyond stress management. Sophie notices that her ability to focus improves as she incorporates these small pauses throughout her day. Tasks that once seemed daunting now feel more manageable because she approaches them from a place of calm rather than panic. This shift in mindset doesn't just make her more productive, it makes her feel more connected to her work. She finds herself genuinely engaged in each task, whether it's a project, a conversation, or a decision. This level of presence brings a new sense of fulfillment to her daily routine. By practicing these techniques, Sophie learns that resilience isn't about being unaffected by stress. It's about having the tools to reset and recover when stress arises. The mind-body connection reset helps her realize that her body and mind are allies in this journey. When she nurtures this connection, she gains the ability to manage her responses rather than simply reacting to stress. This holistic approach empowers her, giving her confidence in her ability to navigate challenges. Dr. Nerurkar's approach to the mind-body connection reset also includes the idea of acceptance, understanding that stress is a natural part of life and that it doesn't need to be entirely eliminated. Instead, Sophie learns to accept stress as a signal that it's time to reconnect with her breath, her body, and her surroundings. This acceptance allows her to approach stress with less resistance, creating a mindset where she can face challenges without feeling overwhelmed. For Sophie, the mind-body connection reset becomes a foundational practice, one that she carries with her into every aspect of her life. She realizes that the connection between her mind and body is a powerful tool, one that helps her remain steady even in difficult times. Through her daily breathing exercises, moments of mindfulness, and the gentle pauses she takes throughout her day, Sophie builds a resilience that feels both natural and sustainable. Key lessons. 1. Stress as a full-body experience. Sophie learns that stress impacts not only her mind but her entire body. This awareness shifts her approach, allowing her to address stress holistically. 2. The power of simple techniques. Techniques like deep breathing and mindfulness, though simple, prove transformative. By incorporating them into her daily routine, Sophie creates small but significant shifts in her stress response. 3. Creating restorative pauses. Mindfulness helps Sophie create moments of calm amidst a busy day. These pauses allow her to reset and bring herself back to a state of peace, reinforcing her resilience. 4. Embracing present moment awareness. By focusing on the present rather than future worries or past regrets, Sophie reduces her stress levels and feels more engaged with her tasks, bringing more fulfillment to her day. 5. Resilience through connection. Sophie's journey reveals that resilience isn't about eliminating stress but about building a connection between mind and body that allows her to manage stress effectively. Through the mind-body connection reset, Sophie gains a new understanding of resilience. She learns that resilience doesn't mean never feeling stress. It means having the tools to manage it, to reset when necessary, and to approach each day with a sense of balance. The practices she develops become her anchors, steadying her in a world that often feels chaotic. This chapter marks the beginning of Sophie's transformation, a journey toward a life that feels calm, connected, and resilient. In Chapter 2, The Environmental Reset, Sophie discovers the power of creating a mindful, intentional workspace as a buffer against stress. Before making changes, her desk had been a constant reminder of unfinished tasks, urgent emails, and deadlines. Each cluttered corner and scattered sticky note created a sense of unease, reinforcing the feeling that her work was an endless race with no room for rest. The concept of the environmental reset challenges Sophie to see her surroundings as an extension of her mental state. The chapter explains that the environment we inhabit can influence our focus, mood, and energy levels. For Sophie, her workspace was once a place that amplified her stress. By turning her physical space into a sanctuary, she could shift her mindset and use her environment as a tool for grounding and calmness. The process starts with decluttering, a seemingly simple task, but one that brings immediate relief. Sophie finds that each paper she files away, each unnecessary item she removes, gives her a renewed sense of control and clarity. It's as if by organizing her space, she's also organizing her mind. She begins to feel less overwhelmed, understanding that she now has a space where she can work with greater focus and calm. Next, she personalizes her workspace, introducing elements that bring her comfort and joy. A family photo becomes a source of warmth, reminding her of the support she has, while a small potted plant connects her to nature, bringing a bit of the outdoors into her daily routine. Sophie also introduces a lavender-scented candle, using scent as a form of relaxation. Each time she lights it, the calming aroma fills her workspace, creating a momentary pause that allows her to breathe more deeply and reset her mind. Over time, these small adjustments have a profound impact. Her workspace shifts from being a stress zone to a place where she can find calm amidst the chaos of her day. Sophie realizes that the environment she's created allows her to feel more present, less hurried, and more in control of her responses to stress. Her focus improves, and tasks that once felt overwhelming now seem manageable. She sees her workspace as a supportive ally in her journey, a place she can return to when she needs a mental reset. The chapter drives home that an intentional environment can serve as a foundation for mental clarity and resilience. For Sophie, the environmental reset is more than a tidy desk. It's a reminder that her surroundings can either amplify or alleviate her stress. By consciously choosing to create an environment that soothes and supports her, she lays the groundwork for greater peace and productivity in her daily life. Key takeaways. 1. A clutter-free space fosters a clutter-free mind. Decluttering is not just about aesthetics. It's about reducing mental load. For Sophie, organizing her desk means she has fewer visual distractions. This not only helps her focus on her current tasks, but also prevents the anxiety that comes with seeing a mountain of unfinished work. By reducing visual clutter, she frees up mental space to concentrate better. 2. Creating an environment that soothes reduces stress. Small adjustments like adding personal touches, plants, or calming scents can transform an ordinary workspace into a personal sanctuary. Sophie's lavender candle and family photo are not merely decorative. They are carefully chosen items that ground her, providing a sense of stability. When she feels her stress levels rising, simply looking at her family photo or taking a deep breath of lavender-scented air can help her find calm. 3. Intentional changes. Impact mood and focus. Each element Sophie adds to her workspace contributes to a sense of well-being. A potted plant, for example, introduces a touch of green that has been shown in studies to reduce stress and improve focus. Having her environment set up with thoughtful touches reminds her that she deserves a calm, supportive space where she can work and thrive, boosting her sense of self-worth. 4. The environment as a tool for mindfulness. By transforming her space, Sophie also shifts her approach to work. Her desk is no longer simply a place to accomplish tasks, becomes a space for mindful focus. Whenever she feels stressed, she uses her environment as a grounding tool, taking a moment to breathe, reset, and refocus. This intentional practice helps her approach each task with a clearer, more composed mindset. 5. Simplicity as a pathway to productivity. Sophie learns that productivity isn't about being surrounded by reminders of tasks. It's about creating an environment that promotes clarity. Her simplified, organized desk enables her to prioritize what matters, reducing the overwhelm of trying to do everything at once. This change leads to a new productivity rooted in calmness, not chaos. Through the environmental reset, Sophie understands that her workspace can either drain her energy or replenish it. By choosing to make her environment supportive, she finds that stress is no longer something she battles with constantly. It becomes something she can manage and reset whenever she needs to. The chapter emphasizes that simple, thoughtful changes to one's environment can cultivate a profound sense of control, focus, and resilience. In Chapter 3, The Digital Reset, Sophie confronts the impact of technology on her well-being. Like many, she had fallen into a routine of constant online engagement, checking emails first thing in the morning, scrolling through social media during breaks, and responding to messages at all hours. Over time, this endless digital consumption left her feeling more disconnected and drained, even though she was connected to everything around her. The chapter's insights resonate deeply with her, highlighting that digital devices, if unchecked, can be a major source of stress and distraction. The digital reset invites Sophie to reconsider her relationship with technology, treating it not as a constant companion, but as a tool to be used mindfully. Sophie reflects on how, over the years, her daily habits had gradually shifted towards the digital. Instead of taking a few quiet moments to start her day, her phone had become her alarm clock, her planner, her social outlet, and often her source of stress. Notifications were a constant reminder of the things left unfinished, creating a cycle where her mind was always occupied, never fully at rest. Initially, Sophie's digital reset feels challenging. Setting boundaries with technology requires her to change long-held habits and manage a subtle anxiety about missing out. She begins by implementing small steps. First, she sets screen time limits, especially around social media and messaging apps, realizing that these platforms are major culprits of her mental fatigue. Instead of reaching for her phone as soon as she wakes up, Sophie now takes a few minutes to stretch, breathe, and enjoy a cup of coffee before diving into the online world. This change, though minor, starts to create a morning routine, grounded in mindfulness instead of instant stimulation. One of the most impactful changes Sophie makes is turning off non-essential notifications. In the past, every ping from her phone was a cue to check a message, an email, or a new post. Interruptions that fragmented her attention and pulled her away from whatever she was doing. By silencing notifications, she realizes she has reclaimed a sense of focus, allowing her to engage in tasks more deeply without being constantly interrupted. Sophie also designates specific times for social media. Rather than letting it fill her idle moments, she sets aside a small block of time each day to check her feeds and engage with friends. This intentional use of social media shifts her experience from passive consumption to active engagement. Instead of aimlessly scrolling, Sophie starts connecting more thoughtfully with the people and content that genuinely interest her. She even begins setting goals around what she wants to accomplish online, like checking in on friends or finding inspiration, instead of falling into a cycle of endless scrolling. As Sophie adjusts to these new boundaries, she notices the positive effects quickly. She feels less reactive and more centered, with a newfound ability to focus on what's happening around her. The quiet moments she creates without devices become a powerful form of self-care, helping her reconnect with her surroundings and herself. When she steps away from her screen, she feels present and available for genuine experiences, whether it's having lunch with a friend or reading a book without interruptions. The digital reset teaches Sophie that technology should serve her needs, not the other way around. She learns to view her digital world as something she can control, not something that controls her. This perspective empowers her to maintain boundaries and be intentional about how she uses her devices. As a result, she finds a renewed sense of peace in the quiet moments and discovers a balance that supports her well-being. Key takeaways. 1. Technology as a tool, not a master. Sophie realizes that by taking control of her technology use, she can regain a sense of balance. She becomes more intentional, understanding that technology should enhance her life, not dictate her actions. Instead of letting her devices control her routine, she consciously decides when and how to engage with them. 2. Boundaries reduce overstimulation. Constant exposure to digital stimuli keeps the mind in a state of heightened alertness, which can contribute to anxiety and stress. By setting boundaries, Sophie gives her mind the chance to rest and reset, reducing the overstimulation that often accompanies unlimited screen time. Her day now has pockets of calm, moments when she's not on call for every notification or message. 3. Intentional digital use creates space for real connections. Sophie finds that limiting her screen time allows her to be more present with people around her. She realizes that social media, while valuable, is no substitute for real-life connections. By being deliberate about her online interactions, Sophie deepens her relationships and invests her time in more meaningful connections. 4. Reclaiming mental space through digital detox. Each time Sophie silences a notification or limits her online time, she is, in effect, detoxing her mind from the constant input of the digital world. This space allows her to recharge mentally, feel more at peace, and approach her day with a clearer mind. The moments away from screens become moments of clarity, helping her see things from a fresh perspective. 5. Mindful engagement with technology. Sophie learns that it's not just about reducing screen time, but about being mindful of how she uses her devices. Whether it's choosing to read an article that inspires her or connecting with a friend who uplifts her, each interaction becomes purposeful. Mindful engagement helps her to find joy and value in her digital activities, rather than feeling drained. Through the digital reset, Sophie experiences a shift in her relationship with technology. By breaking free from the habit of constant digital engagement, she discovers that her well-being improves, her focus strengthens, and she reconnects with the present moment. This reset isn't about giving up technology altogether. It's about finding a balanced approach that allows her to use digital tools without letting them overtake her life. The result is a healthier, more intentional interaction with the digital world, one that leaves space for peace, presence, and genuine joy. In Chapter 4, The Movement Reset, Sophie discovers a new approach to physical activity, one that changes her mindset from viewing exercise as a duty to seeing it as an uplifting, pleasurable part of her life. For years, Sophie associated exercise with the pressure to achieve fitness goals, feeling obligated to follow routines she didn't enjoy. This chapter shifts her perspective by introducing movement as a method of self-care and stress relief, focusing on the joy of moving rather than a strict regimen or outcome. Sophie starts small, incorporating brief moments of movement throughout her day. Instead of scheduling intense workouts or pushing herself to achieve a particular milestone, she begins with easy, joyful activities. When she's feeling tense during a workday, she takes a few minutes to stretch at her desk or do a quick series of arm circles. She even lets herself take mini dance breaks to her favorite upbeat songs, enjoying the freedom to move without judgment or pressure. The act of stepping outside for a walk becomes one of Sophie's favorite forms of movement. A brisk walk around her neighborhood or in a nearby park allows her to connect with nature, get some fresh air, and reset her mind. This simple practice brings a sense of clarity and calm, making her feel recharged without the need for intense exertion. Instead of focusing on calorie burning or muscle building, she appreciates the way walking helps her unwind and find mental space, grounding her in the present moment. Gradually, Sophie begins to notice the positive effects of these small, enjoyable movements. Rather than feeling fatigued, she experiences an increase in energy and a lighter mood. Movement is no longer something she has to do. It becomes something she looks forward to as a natural part of her day. The joy she finds in moving her body in ways that feel good, even as simple as taking a few deep, mindful breaths or swaying to her favorite tune, brings a new sense of freedom. Her body feels less tense, her mind is clearer, and she starts to feel more in tune with herself. The movement reset also emphasizes that movement doesn't have to fit traditional exercise models. Sophie learns that physical activity can come in many forms beyond the gym. Gardening, dancing, playing with her pet, or simply taking the stairs instead of the elevator. By recognizing that every bit of movement counts, Sophie finds it easier to integrate activity into her life in a sustainable way. As Sophie practices this reset, she notices a profound connection between her physical movement and emotional resilience. Moving her body allows her to release not only physical tension but also emotional stress, helping her develop a stronger sense of resilience. This reset teaches her that movement can be an expression of self-care, a way to nurture her mind and body rather than punish or push herself. Embracing movement as a form of joy instead of an obligation redefines her relationship with her body, allowing her to appreciate its strength and resilience in new ways. Key takeaways. 1. Reframe movement as joy, not obligation. Sophie's mindset shifts from seeing movement as a requirement to experiencing it as an act of self-love. This reframe changes how she feels about exercise. Rather than viewing it as a chore, she starts to see it as a refreshing part of her day. This shift allows her to incorporate more movement without feeling burdened or pressured by expectations. 2. Small, enjoyable movements have powerful benefits. Through brief, spontaneous activities, Sophie finds ways to reset her energy throughout the day. Even a few moments of stretching or dancing helps relieve stress and re-energize her, creating natural pauses in her schedule that help her feel more balanced. 3. Physical activity enhances mental resilience. Movement becomes a tool not only for physical wellness, but also for mental clarity and emotional resilience. Sophie realizes that releasing physical tension helps her cope better with challenges and stay grounded. This connection between body and mind highlights the holistic impact of movement on overall well-being. 4. Everyday movements count. The movement reset encourages Sophie to see the value in all forms of movement, not just structured exercise routines. By letting go of the all-or-nothing mentality, she finds freedom in incorporating small movements, which contribute to her health and happiness without feeling forced. 5. Movement as self-care. Sophie's approach to movement becomes more compassionate and intuitive. She listens to her body and chooses activities that feel good rather than those dictated by fitness trends or external pressures. This practice helps her build a positive relationship with her body, appreciating its capacity for movement as a source of joy and resilience. Through the movement reset, Sophie learns that physical activity doesn't have to fit into rigid expectations to be valuable. Instead of intense workouts or long exercise sessions, the beauty of this reset lies in her rediscovery of simple, enjoyable movements. By allowing her body to move freely and intuitively, she reconnects with herself, finds joy in motion, and strengthens her resilience, ultimately transforming movement into a cherished part of her daily life. In Chapter 5, The Social Connection Reset, Sophie realizes how much her busy lifestyle has created a sense of isolation, weakening her relationships with friends and family. This chapter explores the essential role that social connections play in mental health and resilience, emphasizing that humans are inherently social beings who thrive on relationships and community support. Importance of social connections. Sophie learns that meaningful relationships are not just nice-to-haves, but essential components of well-being. Research has shown that strong social connections can serve as a protective buffer against stress, anxiety, and even depression. When individuals feel connected to others, they often experience lower levels of stress and are better equipped to handle life's challenges. Social interactions release oxytocin, a hormone that can counteract stress by promoting relaxation and a sense of trust. This bonding hormone also fosters emotional resilience, helping people cope better with emotional hardships. Actions Sophie takes to reconnect. Understanding the benefits of social connections, Sophie begins making small but impactful efforts to reconnect with those who matter to her. Instead of waiting for friends or family to reach out, she takes the initiative, sending quick messages to check in, organizing coffee dates, or making phone calls just to say hello. Through these simple actions, she experiences the positive effects of reconnecting, noticing a boost in her mood and a greater sense of belonging. Sophie's journey highlights that reconnecting doesn't require grand gestures. Often, small, consistent efforts can strengthen bonds over time. Making an effort to show up, even virtually, reminds her friends and family that she values them and wants to be part of their lives. These moments of connection, even brief ones, provide comfort, support, and a reminder that she's not alone in her struggles. Impact on mental health and resilience. As Sophie reconnects, she begins to feel a renewed sense of emotional support. Studies suggest that people who have strong social networks experience greater life satisfaction, stronger coping abilities, and even improved physical health. These connections make her feel more supported and secure, which in turn strengthens her resilience. Having people to lean on allows her to navigate life's ups and downs with greater confidence and hope. Knowing she has people who care for her and can share her challenges reduces feelings of isolation and provides an emotional safety net. Moreover, these renewed relationships also encourage Sophie to be more open about her own struggles, creating a cycle of support and empathy. This exchange of vulnerability fosters deeper bonds and leads to more meaningful interactions, reinforcing her sense of community and belonging. Key takeaways. 1. Social connections reduce stress. Positive social interactions provide a natural way to combat stress. Being with others, or even connecting virtually, can promote relaxation, increase feelings of joy, and provide relief from stress. 2. Meaningful interactions provide emotional support. Relationships with close friends and family offer an emotional foundation, giving people a safe space to share challenges and celebrate successes. This mutual support enhances mental well-being. 3. Reinforcing a sense of belonging. Regularly connecting with loved ones gives people a sense of place and purpose. It reassures them that they're not alone and that they're part of a community that values and cares for them. By nurturing her relationships, Sophie discovers how these connections transform her outlook on life, helping her feel more resilient and grounded. This chapter teaches that reconnecting with others, even through small gestures, can make a profound difference in one's mental and emotional resilience. Social bonds become her source of strength, grounding her and providing the balance needed to face life with renewed optimism and confidence. Conclusion. Embracing the resets. By embracing each reset, Sophie doesn't eliminate stress completely, but she learns to manage it with newfound resilience. She feels grounded in the present, more connected with her surroundings, and supported by those around her. The resets don't transform her life overnight, but they provide a path, a way to navigate stress with a calm and balanced mindset. Reflecting on her journey, Sophie understands that life will always present challenges, but by regularly applying these resets, she can handle them from a place of strength and clarity. The resets serve as her roadmap to not just cope with stress, but to thrive, no matter what life throws her way. This audiobook closes with a hopeful message for those feeling overwhelmed by the pressures of modern life. Stress doesn't have to dominate your story. With each reset, you can rebuild a life of resilience, calm, and meaningful connection.